Hello, I'm Jim, and welcome to Rallying in America, the Recce podcast. This podcast is an exploration of a rich history, the stories and memories of those who made and make Rallying in America so great. Enjoy the show. Rob Bohn and Rupert Berrington join me for a conversation about Rally, Colorado. We cover their backgrounds and how they became involved as organizers of the event. Our discussion also touches on experiences like being hit in the head, the rally's history, and its upcoming designation as an ARA National event in 2026. Thank you both for joining us on the podcast, and I really appreciate you taking your time. Rob, let's start with you.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your background and what it is that you do.
Well, I can go on probably too long, but I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
So I'm Rob Bohn. Excuse me. I live in Indianapolis with my significant other, Deanne, who's not all that enamored with rallying, except for the scenery.
Okay,
So
that's the same with my wife. So.
so she's a court reporter. She comes out to some rallies sometimes. But I worked at a small software company for like 35 years. So I've been doing that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I ended up being a rally navigator a lot, I'm not a math person, but I'm in computers, so they do all the math for me. That's how I kind of ended up doing all that stuff. So my dad was a career pilot in the Air Force, and we weren't around autos or any of that kind of stuff. And I always was pointing out cars to the annoyance of my parents, but never did any car stuff till I was like in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
So I got started in a small car club, and we started doing serious Ohio Rally Championship events, which are at night TSD, gravel, pretty good high speed. And it's like a predecessor of the SCCA Pro Rally in that area. So it was quite a lot of fun. And that kind of got me into the Sunriser and Tulip 200. I started working on those and eventually ended up navigating for friends and eventually ended up navigating for Mike Hurst. Mike Hurst had a number of cars, always rear-wheel drive, so 200SX, a Porsche, an RX-7. But the one we were famous for was a fire-breathing Mustang that had way too much horsepower and hardly any ability to turn. So we had a lot of fun. But we did really well. We came in first in a lot of years, got a number of, Group 5 type of scenarios. And then Mike became the technical director for Rally America. And so he was becoming less involved actually racing. And so I decided to go with another buddy of mine, Mark Utek, and ran in his Group N Subaru as a navigator. And we did well there. But Mark had always been lusting after that Mustang. So eventually he bought it, and I got inherited with the Mustang. So I ran quite a few more years with him. So it's like 10 years with Mike and like 10 years with Mark. So navigated for a long time. And during that whole time, I was like a control captain. I did a lot of events. I even ran my own car that I raced at STPR and Snowdrift a number of years. But all that control captain type stuff eventually led me to being a steward. Was a steward with Rally America for a long years, and then was a steward with ARA as well. And was SCCA Pro Rally. In fact, Colorado COG. I was the event steward for that event a number of years also.
Okay.
So quite a few different things.
Yeah.
All this time I've been working as an event steward, and I'm not really competing as much anymore, but that's kind of where I come from.
Okay. So when you were car spotting with your parents and your dad being in the Air Force, did he do a lot of plane spotting?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were both into that. So every single time some airplane goes by, it's like, that's a, whatever, Boeing 707 or whatever type of thing.
Right. The reason I ask is my late brother was a pilot and mechanic.
Okay.
So he'd often try to quiz me, don't look up, just by the sound of the plane. Can you tell me what it is? And I'd be like, that sounds like a Mooney.
Well, I grew up at Air Force bases, so the sound of airplanes has always been a nice thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think Rupert's got some air background as well. So, that kind of worked out fine.
Yeah.
but I've always been a fanatic about that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
but I didn't have a mechanical background or anything like that, so I'm awful with taking care of cars, but I can drive them and I can navigate in them, that type of thing.
Great.
So it's been a lot of fun.
Good. Rupert, what's your background?
Well, mine is the weirdest way ever, I guess. Start off. My main job is a photographer, and I started that off when I was a little kid.
Hmm.
My dad was a photogrammetrist, which is a job that probably nobody doesn't even exist anymore. I don't think it's someone who makes maps from photographs,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
before computers and things like that. And my dad was really into film, and used to have his own dark room, and I think kind of ruined that for him by having to have a room for kids instead of a dark room. But I used to help him when I was a little kid, loading film and unloading film, and he gave me a camera when I was 7. So yeah, so I had a pretty good background with photography. I never really thought I'd get into it as a full-time profession for a while. I also, when I was younger, I used to play strategy games, and I was founder and chairman of the Mile High Wargaming Club in
Uh-huh.
Colorado, and we ended up becoming. I started when I was 12, and ended up being the biggest club in the state. And all the game designers would come to our club to test games. And one of our famous designers was named Rocky Rousseau, who
Hmm.
some people know from RC competitions and things like that, and slot cars. And he had multiple games. One of his games was the history of Grand Prix racing, which I was one of the test guinea pigs on, I guess. And
Okay.
I never really knew much about racing at that point, but that definitely got me interested. And within a year of that, I went to Europe for a graduation present and went to my first auto race, which was the 1981 Austrian Grand Prix.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like to say, I started at Formula One and worked my way down.
Hey, now.
So yeah, so I did that as a hobby for about 10 years or so, and I guess I was pretty good because people would ask for photos from me and they'd pay me for them, and so I started doing part-time things. I think in the late 80s, the Rocky Mountain Vintage Racing made me
Hmm.
their official photographer, and I started reading about the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, which is just down the road, and I guess got really bad coverage, in Denver, even though it was like 70 miles away, and
Yeah.
finally made it down there in 1987, and have not missed a race since then. So I've done that for 30 some years. I've lost track now.
Hmm.
But I've never missed a race at Pikes Peak, and I've been the official photographer on and off there a few times, and
Nice.
I've worked for all sorts of people. Probably the first rally guy I worked for was Rod Millen, and
Hmm.
I did some work for him when he raced for Hyundai, and then uh, later he was well, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, he was on a Mazda first, Hyundai second, and then
Hmm.
Toyota after that. So I was his
Okay.
official photographer when he set the record on Pikes Peak. So that
Nice.
record stood forever. Um,
What
and
you saying about Rod Millen, Rupert, reminds me how I got involved in rallying. Our car club said, "Want to go to rally?" And we all said, "Well, what's a rally?" So we went, and I got hit in the head with a rock by Rod Millen in his RX-7, and that's what got me hooked on rallying. So
yes, yes,
had to throw
that's one
that
way.
in.
Did you have
That's
him
one way to do it.
autograph the rock or?
No, he flew by too fast. I couldn't catch him.
Right.
Well, I think in 80, I think it was 88 or 89, I got hit in the head by Ari Vartman. So I guess that was that's close second up
Yep.
on Pikes Peak. um, but yeah, so a lot of these guys that were racing when Pikes Peak was dirt were rally guys, and
Yeah.
so I started getting interested in that. And I know we had a rally called Westcliff, which is down sort of near south west of Pueblo, and that was one of the first rides I went to. I photographed that one,
Oh, okay.
and started doing some work for Sports Car Magazine and Grassroots Motorsports.
Hmm.
And they started putting, assigned me to do some of these events, and I used to do, the SCCA used to be right down the road, the SCCA headquarters. So I did a lot of work for the rally department there,
Hmm.
and would go to rallies in Oregon and Washington State and things like that, plus the Colorado ones. And eventually, we had the Cog Rally in Steamboat, which I think I can't remember why Westcliff went away. Back then I was into just the cars and the what's happening. I wasn't so much into the politics as to how it's
Right.
run. I didn't have a clue, why it did this. Could never understand why it cost so much to enter one of these rallies until my position now. I'm going, oh, I see now.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of how I got going in there, and eventually people would ask me to do things like be the head of media for the race or the rally. I became the official photographer for COG Rally, and then I'd help with the media and just dealing with other media people and things like that, and that's
Hmm.
how I ended up doing that there as well as up in Rangeley. And that's how I ended up, being in the close circle. I was the media guy up there.
Okay. Excellent. So, what can you tell us about the history of Raleigh, Colorado? Like, how did it may have evolved from the COG to Raleigh, Colorado?
Yeah, well, I remember, I knew a little bit at least that it was the Sports Car Club of America ran it back in those days,
Hmm.
and Westcliff was the big rally first, but it was I can't remember the actual terms, but it was like the 2/3 points event, so it wasn't a full points event, but it was enough to bring a few guys in there. I remember Jeff Zwart coming races
Oh,
Porsche down
right.
there
Okay.
and things like that, and then the COG rally, similar, started off as a smaller regional event in 2001. I think we had like a dozen cars in that one. I did not go.
2002.
Yeah, yeah. And then within a few years, it became the pro rally, SCCA Pro Rally,
Okay.
and that's when I was more involved with them as far as helping out with the media and things like that. And it went really well. I mean, we had all the big guys there, and I think what happened, there was actually a lot of racing going on in Steamboat. It's a big ski town, but
Right.
they'd have the COG Rally, they'd have a Rocky Mountain Vintage Racing through the streets, motorcycles through the streets.
Oh, wow.
And I believe it's just that, real estate got kind of expensive. People were building lots of condos. They were up in runoff areas. And then there's some
Hmm.
people just weren't into cars too much anymore. So almost all three of them disappeared about the same time. The vintage race, the motorcycles, and the COG rally. So we were without a rally for a while back then. The big things that we're having was the uh, rallycross. We had a pretty big rallycross group. I think it was only behind Oregon and Washington as far as the biggest in the country, as far
Oh,
as having
nice.
60 to 80 entrants in
Hmm.
that series. And about the similar time, we had a racing series, the Colorado Hill Climb Association racing series that was basically old school Pikes Peak hill climb guys, and they'd have 3 or 4 mile courses going uphill. And I can't remember who started that, but one of our guys started a rally class, a 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive rally
Okay.
class. So all our rally guys would often do, you know, um, rallycross and then the hill climb and then do rallies in other states. So uh, at that point, we'd been gone a few years with no rally. We had a guy named Alan Gardner who worked for Comcast. He was from Ireland,
Hmm.
and he was trying to get rally going again. He was a big rally guy. He'd competed before. His wife competed before, and I didn't really know too much about what was going on. It was just kind of one of those things like
Hmm.
out of the blue. I got a call and said, "You coming to the rally?" I'm like, "What rally?" Yeah, so we're going to rally next week, and I said, "Well, that's news to me," and spoke to Alan, and of course, by that time everything was all sold out there. So I brought my tent with me and camped out on the by the reservoir with all the mosquitoes, and with no internet or anything like that. But uh, I was expecting it to not go very well because I think, well, it's not organized. I mean, if the word hadn't gotten out, it's not going to be that great. But it was a
Okay.
great event,
Yeah, nice.
and I basically been to every rally car except for one, I think, where they had to change the schedule to early September, which ran into a conflict with another major event that I was
Hmm.
shooting. But I've done all of those. Eventually, you know, uh, it was at that point no longer SCCA. I mean, even when it left COG, the SCCA had stopped doing it just because of a couple of unfortunate fatalities
Oh, yeah.
between spectators and competitors.
Mm.
And Rally America took over. Rally America was in charge. I think it was a national event from the first one in Colorado, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In
Yep.
Rangeley.
27,
Yeah,
2017 was the first one.
Okay.
and that was a
Yeah. And
national.
And that's as Rally America was kind of on the descendant phase, and they were trying to create events.
Yeah, okay.
So they knew they could do an event. They tried to do one near Colorado Springs, Denver, and they had some awesome roads, but couldn't get permits. And so
Oh.
they started looking out for some permits, and Rangeley popped up. And you know that story probably better than I do, Rupert. But Rangeley turned out to be a very good choice. So
We'll be right back. Power up your ride. Daily driver, bike, or track beast with Melee Design Firm. Since 2018, Melee has been the go-to source for high-performance battery mounts and power solutions trusted by enthusiasts and professionals alike. Whether you're carving corners on the weekend, commuting to work, or chasing podiums, they have the gear to keep you powered and ready. Their lightweight universal battery mounts are engineered for performance, crafted with precision, and designed to handle whatever you throw their way. They don't just make and sell parts, they build confidence under the hood. Rugged, industrial, functional. That's the Melee difference. Join thousands of satisfied drivers who refuse to settle for stock. Upgrade your battery game today. Now back to the show.
Yeah. Rangeley, and we've dealt this before, with lots of, lots of growth. Usually, the toughest thing for Rally is just getting permission on the roads and
Right.
not upsetting neighbors. Going, what do you mean you shut down the road for an hour, or a day, or
Right.
whatever? And all it takes is one person to complain, and it's a problem. And that's it's kind of why we lost the rally the last couple times. And so, I believe what it was that someone in Rangeley had heard about this rally getting shut down. I think the last thing they were looking at was Rampart Range, or just north of Pikes Peak, and they said, once you come out here, we'd love to have you. And they went out there and they had support from the local government, the Bureau of Land Management, which is usually a really tough nut to crack.
Right.
But the little county, the county of the Rio Blanco County, has barely 5,000 people and has two towns, Meeker and Rangeley, and both of them are around the 2,500 range of people. I think Rangeley's at 2,500, Meeker's like 2,000 or something like that. And it's became the biggest sporting event they've had, each year, and it's a big economic impact for them. We figured out, I think the American Rally Association figured out that it was worth $1.3 million this year's event, which is still only a super regional.
Yeah.
And that was crazy for a little town of 2,500.
That's incredible.
So and things I keep seeing from people that have never been there before, they kept going, we get more support here than nationals do at other events, or it's just crazy how there's no one complaining. Everyone is excited about it. We shut down the main street for 15 minutes and have a parade right through town with all the rally cars and the local police and fire department and ambulances, and we have half the town shows up out there.
Nice.
It's now I can't remember if it was my wife that came up with this idea to toss some candy out of the cars, and now the kids in range, they say this is bigger than Halloween. They bring their bags and they grab more candy coming down the street, so they really enjoy that.
Yeah, well, that's a testament to how things go well in the town, how well organized it is, and I imagine that's a huge plus, or a major factor for considering the rally for being a national event versus a regional. So
yeah, I agree. And I know there was a couple comments that I heard from some ARA officials that said, sometimes it's better to be the big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond, where we have some other rallies that are much bigger towns and cities. So they do get more people there, but not the coverage you would think, and it's just kind of a blip on the throttle. Well, in Rangeley, it's the biggest event of the year, and they have it on their calendar. I mean, as far as a sport event, they have other things that are pretty big out there too. But as far as a racing, sporting type of event, it's right up there. And the hotels it's almost what 7 months or 8 months away, and we're all the hotels in town are sold out already for the rally.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
So were either of you back. This is back at COG, I think, in 2005. Were either of you there for when Travis did the big roll?
I was one turn away and I saw all the dust.
Okay.
So I kind of sort of saw it, but I actually drove the photographer back from there because he was so maybe spooked by that because you saw
Uh,
how the wheel was up in the air, all the stuff from Travis's crash was
yeah.
flying around and he was running like mad and he never went to a rally ever since.
Yeah,
So
he was the Subaru's official photographer.
extremely good photographer too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he
But
quit. Wow.
yeah, that was enough for him. So yeah, it's understandable. I've had
Yeah.
some close calls in my life too, but that was younger years. I've figured out places to not be so dangerous.
Yeah.
But sometimes racing is always dangerous, and the safest spot it can also be an issue. But yeah, it was tough. I was not near that spot. I think similar to Rob. I had a crew of photographers there. One was once again probably about a mile away. We didn't think that much of that corner. We thought it'd be
Yeah.
something more interesting up this hill. And
it's a
so I
boring
saw,
corner.
yeah. We saw I saw the debris, and Travis was signing every little piece of car left.
Oh, yeah.
People were taking home with them.
Well, I've heard the reason I ask about it is I heard some interviews of people talking about it, and it actually helped Rally kind of gain some momentum because that crash, that roll, was all over the TV, and it kind of brought more of a national audience to Rally. So that's kind of why I asked.
I think Travis yelling out, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
Almost immediately while still kind of rolling.
yeah,
Yeah,
Also kind of showed some things about how Travis really is. He's a great guy.
yeah.
yeah.
And it really worked out. And that was quite an incident, I gotta say.
Yeah, he was younger back then. I think he's a little bit slightly more cautious, not a ton
He's
more,
figured
but
it out.
slightly more.
Yeah,
Slightly
He
more
listens
cautious.
to his co-driver better, I think.
Yeah.
But I know I have used that. Depends on who I've talked to. I don't want to show
yeah,
that to insurance companies, and I don't want to show that to sponsor
right.
too much. But I did show it to the local Air Force squadron because I'm trying to get them to come out to do a flyover. And as soon as I showed them that video and and they heard I was pastrana, I said, "We're there." Of course, my big issue is their commanding officer's got a different opinion
Yeah,
than the
right.
pilot. I'm working on them to see if I can get a flyover for the parade. But yeah, it is definitely one of those things where even though it was a bad crash, no one got hurt, thankfully.
Right.
That it is one of those things where you go, wow, and so yeah, it did get us a lot of publicity for sure.
So under the ARA, will 2026 be the first time that Rally Colorado will be a national?
Yes, that's correct. We've
Okay.
it's been a super. I think it's been a super regional the whole time. I think
Yes.
a super regional is like one step below a national.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much run like a national, but it just has doesn't have the national groups in there. There's no a national event. You have a different license to come in there, but super regionals we sometimes every year we have two or three guys that are national level guys showing
Yeah.
up to compete. And this year we had two. And then we also have regional guys that they'll go to nationals from here, and this is a good way of them getting some experience. And,
Yeah.
and it's also part of the California Racing Series, which a rally series, which is it's based in California, but it's all over the place. And so it is part of that series as well as the Western, the ARA Western
Yeah.
part of the event. When I took over, I believe it's been 4 years now. When I took over as chairman of the rally, it's been my number one goal is to make this a national again. If you look on the map before this became a national, there was a giant gap between basically Oregon and Missouri, where there was nothing happening. And
Okay.
I kept saying, this is a national event, you need this part of the country. You need at least one rally in this part of the country to be a national event
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
a national
And
series.
we've always run it like a national because it's got national mileage, national, the way
Yeah.
the controls are run,
Mm-hmm.
everything as much as possible has been national like. So
Okay.
we've tried hard.
So
Yeah.
now when I don't know how the process goes. There's probably a lot to it, but is there like this year, was there a lot of back and forth with the RA? Did you have a hint that they were thinking
It's
of
years of
national?
nudging.
Is it like winning the lottery, you know?
It's It's us trying to talk to them constantly. Like, we'd like
Gotcha.
to become a national.
Yeah.
Hey, keep us in mind. Keep evaluating us. Rupert can talk more, but it's been a lot of nudging.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
for sure. And I know a couple of our people that are on our tight organization were kind of a little cautious about going, that's going to be a lot more work, and they were not a thousand
Yeah.
percent behind us on that deal, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it was more just letting us know it's not going to be an easy run. But I think everyone now is super excited. They go, yes, we need to get that next step done. And this was our biggest. I think this last year we had the most entries we've had in under the American Rally Association. We had, I think, close to that in under Rally America, but not under ARA. So
Yeah.
it definitely was a good number.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we had 34 that were registered. I think we had 3 pull out at the last minute,
Okay.
but still had over 31 cars.
That's a good number. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good.
So, what are the stage roads like?
I can tell you
Yeah,
about those. Rupert can too, of course, but
yeah. I'll let you talk, Rob, because you've been in charge of other rallies too, including Oregon, which I say Oregon is probably the closest one to us, though it's still quite
sort
different
of.
than
Okay.
Oregon. I would say.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of unique roads with lots of curves, and next year is going to be similar, always pretty much, but they're extremely twisty and technical, and we
Yeah.
usually have one of the slower speed factors for the winners. So it kind of tells you right up front. There's a lot of curves. It's not all just straight. How fast can you go?
Great. Okay.
It's how fast can you make the turns. And we got a lot of elevation changes, and we got exposures. We're like 5,000 to 7,000, 7,500 feet. So we've got altitude, and our switchbacks are awesome. Like Dragon Trail is our special stage that has some
Mm-hmm.
really awesome switchbacks. We might even have some new switchbacks next year as well. So,
Okay.
and then we don't have any trees, so the sight lines are long, but that makes the drop offs very visible also. And we do
Okay.
have drop offs with exposures. So, and we are occasionally dusty. We have some rocks, but the roads are just a lot of fun. I think is what it boils down to. They're just
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different character. Like one stage will be a lot more straight, and then another stage will be really tight and twisty and technical, and it's like, whoa, this is changing a bunch. Or in
Right.
the middle of a stage, there's big flavor changes all throughout. So it's really unique how it works out in Colorado. It is quite different than a lot of other rallies.
Yeah. I have a quote here. I'll read it. A driver, Steve Biss, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, he said back in 2018, some say it has 10 times the corners per mile than Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, and I believe it. Um, so it sounds like it's always been that kind of way historically with all the nice tight turns and
Definitely on
winding
some of those. I
roads.
think he was talking about the infamous Douglas stage, which is one that I think we've had. It's a 50-50 love-hate relationship. That
Mm-hmm.
it's incredibly technical, incredibly difficult, really challenging, enjoyable, but also a car killer.
Oh, no.
To some people's opinions. Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on how carefully they run.
Right.
So yeah. So if you go too fast, yeah, you might
Things like that.
hurt
So
your car.
yeah,
So I have another quote here.
it was hard. I know I kept wanting to keep it, but I think a lot of people go on, just understanding that it just destroyed, some of the runs of these guys. So we've
Yeah.
kind of pulled back. We're not running it for last year and probably not this year, but maybe down the road.
But Rob, there's another quote that I read from Grassroots magazine, and it says, "Racing with dinosaurs and clouds of dust."
That's a good quote. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean we're near the Dinosaur National Monument. It's not that far away,
Mm-hmm.
and the roads can be sometimes dusty. We normally are right in a fairly dry period of time,
Yeah.
but there are sudden showers that occasionally crop up. In the last few years, we haven't had as much of that, but previous years, it just all of a sudden out of nowhere, you had rain over here, and 100 feet away, no rain.
Right.
But
Okay.
the dinosaurs bring up the fact that we're also in a petroglyph and pictograph area. There's tons of historical ancient Indian types of things around. It's a really unique area. So
Okay.
it's quite nice.
All right. Great. So, what are the dates for Rally Colorado in 2026?
It's I think Rupert's maybe getting going again, but it's July 18th to 19th in
July 18th and
2026. So it's a
19th.
Saturday Sunday rally. We do that because a fair number of people come from Denver. That's a
Mm-hmm.
5.5 hour drive. So, we're still in Colorado, but we're quite a ways out. Rupert, you keep locking up on your screen, just so you know.
Go ahead.
I can keep going here
Okay,
if
no
need be.
worries. And then lastly, how can folks get in touch with Riley, Colorado? I know that you said the hotels are sold out and so on, but if somebody wants
Mhm.
to reach out, maybe they're a participant or want to be a
Well,
participant, can they get a hold of
the
you?
the website rallycolorado.net is probably your first bet because that has, for instance, Rupert's email address is available there,
Mm-hmm.
and you can connect to him as well on that. Also, there you can connect through the ARA's website as well.
Okay,
So that kind
excellent.
of information, the standard techniques as you expect. So,
Great.
are you
So,
back, Rupert? No, we can't hear
can't
you.
hear him. I hope he can hear us. Because
Oh,
I
we got
want
my
to thank
phone
you
here.
both. Is he back?
Hang on one second here.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can? Okay, so I'll keep going. Your screen kind of blocked out me, so I don't know if it's on my end or your end or what the deal is, but you guys froze on me for a little bit.
Jim and
So
I are working, so it might be at your end.
yeah, it could be.
No worries.
Okay. I'm sorry. What was the last question again?
Well, I was asking about what the dates for Rally Colorado were and the best way to get in touch with.
Yeah. It's the 18th and 19th, which Rob said, and
Yeah.
what I was trying to say, which I don't maybe got cut off on, is that if you're coming there for any reason, you want to make sure you get there on the 17th, which is the Friday afternoon, and
Okay.
get to Park Expose and the parade through town, which is really one of the the key moments of that ride. Even though it's not competition, it's you get to see the drivers, you get to autograph the drivers, you get to see them go down the road, and the parade is something spectacular. And we're actually the Park Expose is based at a automotive museum in Rangeley,
Oh, nice.
and it's one of those key things that if you're even driving through Rangeley, you need to go check it out because it's got over 100 cars in there that most people don't they drove right by without even knowing, and they're all older cars from the 20s and 30s, and
Oh, nice.
really spectacular to look at. And one of their star vehicles is a 1915 car that they call it the Paris to Peking rally car,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a 16-liter engine with
Wow.
a four-cylinder 16-liter engine.
Wow. That's
So
almost
it's
like
it's
the Beast
crazy.
of Turin, isn't it? That big Fiat kind of.
Yeah. It's even bigger than that one. I believe it was
Wow.
actually based on a fire truck back then.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's crazy. Our What's it called now? Our we had our guest, which was the Stig this year, and he came and got to drive it in the parade.
Oh,
He thought it was a
terrific.
great time. So he had a hard time seeing over the steering wheel because it was so big.
It's large. It's amazingly big.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay. I want to thank you both for coming on and taking your time again. As I said in the beginning, I really appreciate it. And we'd like to have you back on maybe a month or so prior to the event and just chat a little
Sure.
more about it and, about spectating and maybe volunteering and so on. So,
Sounds
Awesome.
great.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank
Well,
you.
hopefully, I have a better internet connection next time.
No
So
worries.
sorry
The
about that.
power of editing, right? So,
Yes,
That's
true.
right. Fix that up.
yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
again,
Rob.
Jim.
If you'd like to be on the podcast, you can email me, jim@jimboothdesigns.com, or message me through Facebook at Rallying in America, the Recce Podcast, or Instagram, rallying_in_America. Special thanks to Brady Instruments, pro-grade, handmade, professional fuel hydrometers. Visit bradyinstruments.com for all of your fuel testing needs. Thanks to Toontank and the artist Nuclear Wave for the podcast theme music.